there. Okay.
Is there an eye doctor in this room?
Don't have.
Because the projector got floaties the whole day. You know, but then ours is landscape photo, so you think it's snowing. Okay?
Okay, sorry, that's not a bad joke. Okay, anyway, thank you all for coming. Just a quick introduction for our new friends over here. We are Tripeaks imagery, and together, I'm Charmaine, and that is Rihan over here. And we have been nature, landscape, and travel photographers. So we are nature, landscape, and travel photographers. I've been doing photography for about maybe at least 15 years, and for Rihan, how many years? 25?
25.
25, yeah. So we get 10 years each gap, if you're wondering. Okay, so landscape photography, right, for us, right, it's actually not our one and only job. Though we are quite lucky to make some money from shooting landscapes. But when we are not traveling, we are actually, back in Singapore, being part of photography communities like Alpha Universe Singapore. And also we take on commercial projects. So we do video commercials, we do campaign photos, we also do time lapses, and drone works. Yeah, so we are licensed drone pilots as well. So that's what we do for some of our incomes. Okay. So we're very lucky. Photography has brought us to many, many places. And as you can see, it's mostly the Arctic region, and mainly Greenland and Iceland. We've been to Greenland about 7 times already. Yeah, many times. And actually, Greenland is a pretty difficult place to get to. You need to take about like 3 to 4 different flights or modes of transport. But in photography, there's always this saying that if you need to take more than 3 modes of transport to reach that location, it's a location that is worth visiting in your lifetime. So like how Emily shared earlier, like Bolivia, for example. Okay, yeah, so Iceland is 9 times, right? Yeah, that's what I said. Anything else? Okay. Right, so today, we hope to share with you guys the experiences and the lessons we've learned over our photography journey on how to become a better nature and landscape photographer. So at the end of today, we hope that all of you will go back, with learning something different, go back with something useful. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be bouncing around.
Yeah.
So I always joke that we have been to Greenland or Iceland more times than we have been to Pasir Ris Park. Iceland, we've been there 9 times. So if you have any questions about Iceland, I think you ask us. Other than the language. Right. Okay, so I think the first thing. Okay, so for me, maybe I won't talk so much about these images, alright, but maybe this one. This is an ice cave in Iceland. Generally, I would say go in winter ice caves because they're more stable. Alright, although sometimes they'll say, oh, this ice cave is open in summer. It's a bit tricky. Alright, there was an incident just a few months ago where our ice cave collapsing. Okay, so that was done something good. Okay. So anyway, to become a better nature and landscape photographer, I would say the first thing is to be a naturalist. Right? So if you're not interested in nature, I have friends who used to do nature photography. They try that. Then they come to times where, hey, we have to step onto the mud. They're like, don't touch the mud. You're in a swampy area, but then you don't want to approach. Okay, so alright, and then spend our time outdoors. Alright, so this was us in Greenland. I would say 8 years ago, during our last serious trek in Greenland, we were 2 weeks independent, so we had to bring all the food, everything ourselves. Alright, so that's night time. I think we don't have anybody near us for about 120 kilometers all around. Okay, so it's really very independent. Okay, so on the right, you can see Charmaine trying to drink coffee. That's why we drink coffee, because in summer there are a lot of flies all over. So we put the coffee cup in, drink in where the net back. Okay? And this is where you spend our time outdoors, you can see scenes like this. So this image over here was scouted when I was taking a poop in the river. Alright, so I was squatting down and wow, the view very nice in front. I was like, I told Charmaine, I'll come back at sunset. Okay, so something to share is, let's see if you have a chance to poop in the river. Should you do it upstream or downstream? Or you all don't want to poop in the river? That must go toilet. I mean, flush I need a bidet. Okay, you should do it upstream. Sorry, downstream. Downstream. Upstream, the thing will flow down, and then your friend collecting water. Yes, okay. Unless that's the end of friendship that you want. Okay. So this scene was beautiful. These are unnamed, unexplored mountains in South Greenland. Right, very far to trek in. To be honest, it's about 60 kilometers in. So of course we didn't bother trying that. Okay. Alright, then there's the aurora. When it's very cold, I think some of us here have chased the aurora before. Some of you may be trying to chase the aurora soon. My tip will be don't just think of going in deep winter. I know winter is like, everybody say, because the aurora must go in winter when there's a lot of snow and everything. That's not true. Aurora is there the whole year round. Or it's just that whether the sky is dark enough only. Right? So go in autumn. Right? Whether it's Iceland or Scandinavian countries, because you have daylight hours, which means that you can do normal photography. Okay? In Iceland in winter, you probably have 4 or 5 hours of dark daylight, if it's not even bright daylight. So your photography hours are just for aurora only. If it doesn't happen, it's cloudy, then wow, you wasted maybe 9-10 days. Right, so in autumn, you have a lot more options, right? And it gets dark at normal hours as well. Okay, so that was in North Iceland, and then the other two are in Greenland over there. Okay, and this was in East Greenland where we had the dog sled for 4.5 hours. Wow, so we're thinking, dog sled very fun. The dog running before you can take very nice pictures. Yeah, you can for the first 30 minutes. Because after that, when the wind hits you at minus 25 degrees, right, you keep the camera, they just freeze over there. They don't want to move already. So that's what we do whenever we go to this part of Greenland. We've been there 4 times. So each time is 4.5 hours. And if the snow is very powdered, if the snow is very mushy, right, wow, it's terrible. Because then I will get off and sometimes I will walk because the dogs will be struggling up the mountains. So I walk and then they minus 80 kilo, so they can go up easily. For Charmaine, she always on the dog sled, she doesn't move. Okay, for me, I think for the dogs. Okay. So this one over here, I wouldn't have bothered this shot, right, frankly speaking, if the fog was not there to obscure the mountains in the background. Okay. Alright. A lot of people think that landscape photography is very glamorous one. Go up there, maybe wear Patagonia, whatever, just take images. But this is actually, this took 2 days to shoot actually. We were waiting for correct weather to just take this shot. In reality, it's like that. Okay. So over here, on the right, I just took 2 seconds for Charmaine's photo. Her nose was mucus now and then. Okay, so on the left is central Greenland, where it's probably the coldest, other than north. Central part is really cold. In winter, the real feel is about minus 50 over there. So usually it lasts about 1 hour, 1.5 hours, then we go back. That's it. Okay. So cameras function well. It's just that LCDs tend to slow down a bit, so everything's in slow motion. Okay, on the right side is we were photographing from a boat for icebergs and it's very cold also in winter. So every 10 minutes we rotate. You can see a coffee flask in the background. That's where we drink coffee also. Every 10 minutes we just drink coffee to warm up. Okay. So we were in Spain 2 months ago. Okay, after shooting for the Alpha 1 campaign, we moved on to Spain. Charmaine was there outdoor bouldering with her friends. I don't outdoor boulder, so I just go around the mountains over there hiking. We were there in 2023 as well, and I saw deer. So when on the first day in November, I saw this, there's a deer over there looking at me. Wow, okay. So I got 70 because I was just going scout. So I ran back to the house, I took the 300 GM. Okay, I just went back. Oh, that's the same pair of pants. Okay, so, alright, so then I noticed an animal behind me. Alright, and that was the animal that was looking at me just now. It's actually the Iberian ibex. Alright, so they are there in Spain, central Spain. It wasn't that cold, so they're still up in the mountains. But over the next 2.5 weeks, I actually spent a lot of time with them. Okay, in the mornings, in the evenings. This was on the first day. I was surrounding the band. Wow, I'm very excited because I saw the male already. Then I didn't see any females. Then I heard a lot of tramping noises. Then I looked up and I saw these females getting a shot. So you can see the drool flying out from the mouth also. Okay, so this was shot at a very slow shutter. It was quite dark. It was 1/20 of a second with the 300 GM, which is a very fantastic long lens. If you don't have it, go and buy it. Okay, just go and try it. It's very, very light, this lens, okay, and it's fantastic. Right, so I was using this for the entire trip with the ibexes. Okay, so as the days went by, they started to display more normal behavior. And I tried to actually wear the same clothes, not like I brought any other clothes also. So the same green jacket, the same pair of pants, the sandals, and then the bag, and that's it. Okay? And I will make noises as I go, so that they know I'm there. Alright, so sometimes they're a lot closer approach. This was about maybe 40, 50 meters away. Right, but there were days where they would just go up the mountains. Right, so they go up the mountain, it's like 1 minute for them to go up. But for me to go to the other side of the mountain, it took 1.5 hours. So it's a never-ending chase. And I never managed to see them at the back of the mountain also. And so this was one of the last days when I saw them at the peaks, because after that it got colder and then it went down here already. Right?
Okay. So the interesting thing about the ibex was that when we were in Switzerland, we were looking out for ibexes, but we couldn't see them at all. It was only until we went to Spain and then we found them by chance. So it was a very interesting experience, because we were dying to see the ibex in Switzerland, to take a photo with the A1 Mark II, but yeah.
It was too cold in Switzerland in November, so they tend to go down the mountains and into hiding. So you can't actually see them anymore.
So our next tip is that photography is not just a creative medium, it is also very technical. I mean, we talk a lot of how we should be more creative in our works, we talk about composition, and I think that's great. With all this creativity and great composition, we come out with very good photos. But we have to remember that photography is also using cameras, so there's a lot of techniques and technical side that we need to learn as well. And I'm a big believer that if you can master your techniques very well, you understand what shutter speed can give you understand what aperture can give you, you can then expand your creativity. You have more room, in fact, for your creative freedom. So that's something that we are a big fan of. And thankfully, we are landscape photographers, so we do use a lot of techniques to help us achieve the interpretation of the scene that we want. So for example, this photo is a beautiful place. It's taken in New Zealand. I think we were there with a group of friends. It's a photography trip, and me and Vihan were just being like the main leader for the trip when we were bringing our friends along. This is taken in sunrise. It's very beautiful, we have a very beautiful light and sunrise, and wow, this is a very beautiful image. But then as a photographer, I thought, how can I make this a better image? Right, so we're using all the techniques I have in my mind. Oh, should I go long exposure? Should I use this? Should I do, what kind of lens should I use? So I thought, why not I put on a 6-stop neutral density filter to slow down the shutter speed to 30 seconds to get this interpretation of the scene like that. And that's the fun part about landscape photography, you can really bring out the artist in you. Yeah, which is why I like landscape photography. Yeah. So when I was there, I was very lucky that the little plant in the middle there, the wind went strong. Because this is 30 seconds, so almost any slight wind would cause to have some motion blur. But thankfully there isn't. I was really just risking that 30 seconds for this shot over here. So we won't really go through what neutral density filter do. We actually have a landscape photography workshop under Sony digital workshop where we teach you guys how to use neutral density filters. Okay, so for comparison, without ND filters, it's 1/3 of a second. If I put on the 6-stop, it will only yield me 15 seconds. So that's when the techniques come in already. 15 seconds, but I want 30 seconds, what should I do? So I stop down the aperture smaller by 1 stop to get 30 seconds. Okay, so these are techniques that we have in mind where we're out in the field. Okay, so neutral density filters do help you create different moods. Okay, but it's not just about long exposure, it's about getting the shutter speed you want to create a dynamic image. So this is taken on a boat in Greenland, right? It was done handheld by Vihan, and he put on what we call a variable ND filter that a lot of videographers also use. So using a variable ND filter, he slowed down the shutter speed to 1 second, which is the perfect exposure time to get such a dynamic streak of waves, movement. Anything you want to add about this image?
So I think some of you thinking, 1 second shutter speed, the image is not blurred. The icebergs are not perfectly sharp. Right? There is a bit of motion blur, but to me that's okay because it's not like I got a client who's going to pay $50,000 for this image. Right? It's just for my own use. Right? So to me, getting the motion of the waves is very important. Which is why I use a variable ND filter because that allows you to dial in the exact amount of filtration. So if I were to use the square filters, which we also use, it's going to be very troublesome because there's going to be spray and everything. Right, then I have to be switching filters around. Right, so as it got darker, I just started turning the density down a bit. Okay?
Yep, so there's a lot of techniques we use in landscape photography. So this image over here. This image. This image is taken in Tibet. I'm sighing because I just reprocessed this, and actually it's very tedious to process this image. Okay, so I'm not sure whether you guys realize that there are some situations where the foreground is very near to your camera, and regardless of how small aperture you use, like f22, you cannot get the background sharp together with the foreground, right? And that is just how the camera works. So in landscape photography or in photography, we use this technique called focus stacking, where we use a combination of multiple images to get the image sharp from the foreground all the way to the background. So behind the scenes, how I show this, it's like this. So this was done a while back, where we had the 12 to 24. And you can see that the stone is very tiny over there, but the image is very big, right? Yeah, so that's wide angle perspective. Okay, so because in order for me to get the shot that I need, I had to manually actually change the focus. Okay, so focus bracketing or focus stacking is basically a combination of multiple images shot at different focus point all the way to the background. And then combine all this in the software very easily to get image shot all the way. Yeah, so if this is very confusing, you can Google it or you can join workshops for this. Yeah, so sometimes at landscape outings we have to, be a bit more ad hoc. I took out the ball head from the tripod so that it's closer to the ground, and then I use a rock to stack the lens.
I think also very important thing to state is that that's my beanie over there. So that's me in the background over there, feeling very cold. I thought she needed to wear my beanie, so I lent it to her. Then in the end, she used it on the floor. She was in the background. Yeah, that's me in orange actually.
Anything for the photo. Okay, so just to break it down, if you know some of our cameras, especially the A7R Mark V, A9 Mark III, A1 Mark II, and if you're using the A1 recently, they got the latest firmware update. So if you update the firmware, there's this inbuilt function called focus bracketing. So last time I had to manually turn the focus and take a photo. So can you imagine my chances of getting a blurred image or a wrong composition is very high. But now everything is like automated. So you can automatically set the number of pictures you want and they will take the photo automatically. And then we bring all of this into Photoshop and then auto blend it. So it's very simple, it's not difficult. Just as long as you know that this technique exists, you can use it not just for landscape photography but also for cityscapes and any other travel photography images as well. So you get this image here. Okay? Next one. Okay, so this technique is also a combination of multiple images, but instead of combining multiple images over several focus points, it's actually a multiple images across a period of time. Yeah, and I like this technique a lot because if you're just starting out on astrophotography, this is an easy to do, easy to learn technique and yield impressive results, like very exciting results over here. Okay, so this is called star trail photography. Okay, so essentially what we do is, using our camera nowadays, we take multiple images, or like this, okay, using a function called interval shoot function. These days we can do all this, most of our Sony cameras can do this. Yeah? Last time we had to use like an intervalometer, etc., etc. And the fun part about this function is that if you shoot multiple images, right, you can even create a time lapse. So it's like 2 in 1, right? I can create a time lapse out of all these images, and I also can create a star trail photo. So I like this function a lot.
Just a note, ignore the settings over there, it's not recommended settings. You go setting this 720 images for your star trails, your battery will go mad. Okay. So, yeah, this is for time lapse and it doesn't matter, it differs from scene to scene, alright?
Yeah, so I just took it off somewhere. Okay. And then we also use, you can take a photo if you need, these two software to combine all these images to form a star trail. I think Sony SDW has like astrophotography workshop, maybe they will run through this.
Yeah, but basically StarStax is for Mac, Sequator is for Windows. Sequator is confirmed free one. StarStax I'm not sure, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and starship photography if you're trying to learn, right, I would recommend that you try practice in Singapore first. Some of us, okay, maybe not in the weather these days, these days too cloudy already, okay, but you can practice in Singapore first. So this is taken in Toa Payoh back in 2021. Yeah, at 3 a.m. in the morning. So if you're intending to practice starship photography in Singapore, either you go to a ulu place like Lower Seletar Reservoir, or if you want to shoot something like this, we can go to Toa Payoh at around 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. The reason why we recommend early morning, right, is because that's when the city pollution will have and the dust will have settled by then. So the air is still and clearer, assuming it's a cloudless sky, okay? Yeah, so you can shoot an image like this. Okay, so next one.
Okay, next one is to look beyond the obvious, right? So, this is a very old photo, right, taken with the previous brand of cameras. Right, this is immersing. So those of you who do astrophotography, I think you have been to immersing before. This was taken I think in 2008. So I was first there in 2006, and over the years I spent about 60 to 70 nights over there. I just stay over there. I mean not one shot. Every time I just stay 3 nights, 4 nights. Then the sandflies get too much for me, I'll come back to Singapore. Okay, then I'll scratch for 1 week, 2 weeks. Next month I'll go back again for 3 nights. Right, so that is where actually I learned a lot about landscape photography when I first started out. Because over there, it's not a kind of wow location, right? But it has very varied tidal conditions. Right, so over there, I did damage a lot of cameras and lenses. Some of them were beyond repair. So I also know that some of the bags that claim to be waterproof are not waterproof also, okay, sadly. Right, so from there, I also learned how to see the non-obvious. So how to notice the small little elements in the image. Okay, so over here, do you all see the eye bags over here already? Can anybody spot the eye bags? Actually, don't bother taking a photo of the screen because there's no eye bags here. Okay, I actually clone off the eye bags. Okay, there were 3 eye bags I cloned off to illustrate this point, and that is when I was searching for the eye bags for 18 days, right? I was there. For maybe 10, 11 days, they were not there at all. Okay, it's either I was too late in the morning, but I always go there about 6 a.m. Okay, so they'll be feeding in the dark and then they run off into hiding when the sun rises. So what I did was, I would actually go to the birch forest nearby. Oh, I think forest is very dense. Actually, the forest I think is like this patch of, the size of this stage only actually. So it's just a few birch trees over there. But I had a 300 GM with me, so I was very curious as to how it looked like with this compressed perspective as well as the bokeh. Right, so it turned out to be really, really appealing. And then the next morning, and then a week mornings later, I started to go at sunrise. When I did see the ibexes, I just started shooting. Alright. Close-ups of these backlit leaves over here. Okay. Wow, some of you are like, you all didn't notice the blue color water, the icebergs, you all notice the person eating the sandwich first.
That's not me.
That's not Charmaine actually, if you all believe her. Okay, so we were hiking in Greenland. This is Greenland, hiking on the Greenland ice cap, which is the largest ice cap after Antarctica. Alright, so we could only take photos when we stopped for lunch. So, but then, 2 of us being photographers, right, we behind the group and just taking photos as we walk. Then the guide will be like, 2 of you, hurry up.
We got scolded a lot.
Yeah, we got scolded a lot. I mean, like, okay, so when we stopped, I saw these little flies that were irritating me in summer 2017. Alright? And then I saw this close up, these bubbles, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And because the 1635 GM2 allows such close focusing, I was able to do a tiny macro shot of these flies over here and the ice bubbles. Okay? Over here, an unnamed waterfall in Iceland. Basically, we drove past in North Iceland. I was like, hey, wow, hey, this waterfall nice. Okay, let's turn in and then just hike in. Alright, and then after shooting the very obvious, white shots of this waterfall, I tend to actually go in close, alright, to see the flow of the water. Alright, and then from there I did a focus stack using the ASMR5, which is very easy. Right. If I was previously with the Alpha 1, I would be manually focusing, trying to get different focal points. Okay, it's a waste of time. With the ASMR5, A7CR, A93, and A12, and the A1 now, you get to have this automated for you already. Okay, and next one is movement and still frame. Okay. So a lot of us shoot the sun. These are sunspots. This is not dust on the sensor, by the way. If this is dust on the sensor, I'll be dead already. Right, so the sunspots are responsible for aurora. So the more sunspots there are, the more active the northern lights are going to be. Right? So all of you are like, this image, okay, I also can shoot, I just crop. Okay. There's actually a plane in front of the sun. Okay. So I was shooting this with the A1 Mark II, and then with the 600 2x teleconverter, and this is from our kitchen window. So we are lucky to have this sunrise a few weeks of the year. Alright. I actually had many planes flying past that day. I used an app to help me. It's called Flight Radar. Right. So when you have the app, right, you can gauge the planes whether they're going to cross your path. I just started firing after frame after frame. Alright, and so, including little objects like that in the frame. Right? When I started landscape photography about 15 years ago, I was very stubborn about not having humans or man-made objects in the frame. I wanted my mountains to be mountains only. If there's a house, I ignore the mountain already. Alright? But after time, as time went by, I realized that this actually added something to the image. Right? Wow, this image is very nice because now there's the snow blowing frame. It's very real.
And it's very cool. And it's very cool now.
Somewhat quite cool now. Okay, but there's actually boats over here, and the birds. This is a fishing boat in West Greenland over here. Alright, so having that board gives a sense of scale, even though it may not be accurate because it's at different distance. Okay, but it gives you a little recognizable element. Okay, so your viewers actually feel a bit more relatable to your images. Okay, same here over here, when you go too far, this is in Bali, Canggu. Okay, after the condo trip we extended, and then I was like, oh, there's a fisherman over there. I just started to bring the tripod, a lightweight tripod that we have. A1, I just started firing on bursts. Whenever the fisherman stayed still and there was a wave coming, I just triggered the camera. Okay. This is in Mount Pilatus, which is above Lucerne in Switzerland. So Mount Pilatus in summer, autumn is amazingly beautiful, right, I would say. We were very lucky to get a sea of clouds over there, so we didn't get any light pollution from the city below. Actually, yeah. Right, so it was foggy down in the city, but up there it was entirely clear. Right, and over here this was done with the new 2870 GM. Then Charmaine over there, she said, hey, I'll go up there and help me trigger a shutter. I said, okay, cool. So then after we on the headlamp and just got shot.
Yeah, correct. Nowadays we feel like having a little objects, right, helps to include more storytelling in the photo itself. I mean, sometimes, it's easy, like, I won't say it's easy, but it's harder to convey a story through a single image. Which is why sometimes you think, having a little object there, a little subject will provide a sense of scale, will provide a bit more story background to the image itself.
So if you are a solo shooter, you're the only one up here, what can you do? You can use the interval function, start it, and then go up the mountain and shoot yourself. Stay up there for 5 minutes and come down. You confirm you have one frame that's good one. Right? I mean, that's the way to do it, let's stop us. Anyway, those of you who are observant, right, you can see north of this peak over here, there's a comet that was photographed some months ago. Okay, over there in Mount Pilatus, we saw it every night. Okay, so you can stay up in this mountain. There are 2 hotels. Choose the bigger hotel because the other hotel, right, the view is against the wall. Okay, our hotel had views up on the landscape. It's expensive. It's about $600 a night, but they come with a fine dinner every night. It's not a very nice dinner actually, to be honest. I think it's 5 course, but wow, sorry the food. Alright, so over here, we were walking back to the hotel from Mount Pilatus, and I was looking at this scene. I was like, wow, I told Charmaine, very nice. I want to get a shot, and hopefully it's a bird that enters the frame. Right, this is very far. So the birds over here usually come across our frame really close, with a frame filling. So I was just wishing that, hopefully in the distance there's one bird that comes into my frame. That one was too small. And then when this one came in, I was like, ooh, and it started hovering. I think it was speeding in the air. This was a point where I started triggering like crazy. Right, so in the end, I got the shot. Alright, so without the bird, I think it would really normal. Okay, whereas with the bird, right, I feel like, wow, this is a real landscape with an animal inside it. Right, so that was what I was aiming for. Okay, this took about 50 minutes to wait for this bird. Wow, the 50 minutes was very long. I didn't show the other photos that I took beforehand. I was shooting the cable car, the gondola, and everything. Of course, I was so bored. Okay.
Right, and the final tip we have for today's session is to learn to curate your own photos. And this is something that we came up with when we were discussing a lot. We're asking each other, how did we improve our photography? How did our journey actually come until today? How did we last so long in landscape photography, right? So one thing we realized that we really had a lot of help when we first started photography is people who would then give feedback on our photos. And I think sometimes we don't ask that enough, Yeah. So the very first statement we hope to share with you is to understand that every image has its own home. These days we are so caught up with social media, posting our photos on smaller platforms and all, but there are actually some images that do exist for a reason. Okay, so for example, this image over here is taken in East Coast Park back in 2020. And so I like this image a lot, obviously, because we put in so much effort researching the direction of the sun, the location, and then praying for good weather. So this was done with a 600 GM with a 1.4 times teleconverter. So this image is beautiful, I like it, but I feel like it would not exist in the walls of my home. Right? It's an image that from far you feel like, wow, it's so attractive, it catches my attention, it disrupts my social media feed. Boom, very nice. But then it's not something that will exist maybe on the wall of your home, right? And then again, there's another image like this, taken during the very rare annual solar eclipse in 2019. Again, it's a very attractive image, it's a unique moment. Again, this is a photo that probably exists in smaller platforms like social media or postcards. or like little books, I think it looks beautiful, but it's again not something that you put on a very, very big space. And then on the other flip side, you have images like this one over here. So this image is, if you see on your small little phone screen or from the back, you'll be like, yeah, I need to see like 70% or 80% grey and then 20% white. But this kind of images gives you a sense of calm and peace. And we go closer, you'll be like, oh, there's a dog sled in the middle. It really emphasizes how vast this landscape is. So photos like this actually do exist in the walls of your home, or in exhibition, or in like books. So the whole lesson, we hope that, when you guys go back home, is to re-look through your photo archives again. Doesn't mean that, if you don't get enough likes on your social media, it doesn't mean that image is not worth a second look. The image can exist in a book next time when you publish. The image can be in an exhibition next time, or it can be sent to a photo competition. So give your photos a second or third chance. And the other, when we look back again, how do we improve our photography? And I think the one core thing that really helps us improve our photography is to surround ourselves with quality works. Right, so...
Wow. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I buy a lot of photography books. I don't read everything. Sometimes you buy everything, you think that, wow, I show, then you think you're educated, but I'm not. So I'm guilty of that. Alright, so I try to read as much as possible, and these are some of the photographers that I follow a lot. Anyone heard of these photographers before? Never. Okay. So Franz Lanting is actually a net geo photographer. He's well known for his wildlife work. Okay. Gideon Orwell was one of the world's best mountaineering landscape photographers. He was here in Singapore, I think in year 2000 for a Safra talk. He was invited. By the time I was in army, I was very poor. I mean, army pay is really crap back then, right? $50 per ticket I couldn't afford, so I didn't go. Unfortunately, he passed away in a plane crash, I think a year or two later. Okay. Artwolf is still going very strong. He's also a travel landscape and wildlife photographer. Amazing. He has published a lot of books and he's top-notch on his work. David Lichman is probably the most current. Okay, so I read his blog since, I think, followed him since late 2000s, I think 2008, I think. So his work is amazing. That's his latest book over there. Okay. So David Lichman is very active. He's also a Sony user. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I don't really fancy having so many books at home because Vihan really buys a lot of books and our bookshelf at home is so full. Okay, but
now this time to buy a book, I ask her, can I buy a book?
Yeah, but I see the importance of buying books because books are very hard to publish. It's not like, it's very easy to put online, right? But books are very hard to publish, So the respected photographers that publish all these books, so you can be sure that they're actually putting out their best works inside that book itself. So for example, if you like architecture photography, you can get Darren's book, right? If you like street photography, you can get Pavi Pong's book. I think Pavi is here.
And if you like landscape photography, you can get our book. But a few years later, maybe 10 years
time. Yeah, hasn't existed yet. You can download
still inside here.
Download our copy. Okay. The next one, we actually found that we really improved, honestly, is to join a photography tour, a photography workshop, like not SDW or not, but photography tour was one that really helped me improve a lot. I'm very lucky to be able to keep shooting with Vihan, so we get to bounce back ideas and grow together. In 2013, I first joined my photography tour, and it's not like there to get good photos, but rather when I see how the other photographers, UK photographers, see the same thing or see different things from me, that's when I start expanding my creative vocabulary. So I cannot emphasize how important it is to surround yourself with photographers that you respect and keep following them out with the few. Yeah?
So I think one key difference between a workshop and a photo tour, right, is that a photo tour, the leaders are meant to bring you to the best spots and the best time to get good photos. Right? But please don't ask them what is aperture, because that's what the workshop is for. So if you're not sure how to use your camera, that is a workshop you should attend. Right? When you go photo tour, ask them, how do I switch shutter speed? Which mode are you using? AV, maybe, what is AV? Wow. The tour leaders will. Okay? Because their aim is to get you to the best locations. And most probably, they are also shooting themselves. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Actually, one more thing. Actually, it's good to also join mini contests or contests. For example, like Alpha Universe got every, I think 2-3 months we have a contest. And when you submit your photos to the contest, you can be sure that these are judged by professionals or people who know their stuff. So you can get very accurate feedback about your work. Yeah, That's how I think so lah.
But also be easy on yourself, right? If you don't win, right, doesn't mean you should stop photography lah.
Subjective also,
yeah. Just carry on shooting. I won a contest for the past 15 years, but that's because I don't really join anymore. I mean, judging is very subjective, okay, and this is all art. So your beautiful sunset or sunrise may not appeal to a photographer who only maybe shoots at night, for example. Okay, so to me, don't use that as the only gauge of your standard of photography. Yeah.
And with that, we'll segue to our Q&A pretty soon. Oh, wrong direction. Ta-da! And then we have 2 QR codes over here. Okay, now, before you start scanning, right, I need to explain what this secret enrichment group is about. Okay, it's secret because it's made public now, and we're making it private after that. It's only going to be available until 7 p.m. If you're interested in travel, nature, or landscape photography, whichever brand you are using right now, you're welcome to join our enrichment group. And think of it like a tutorial group, like a supplement to the communities that you already have. Because I'm very lucky as a person, when I was doing my photography, and I started my photography journey, I had Rihan with me who will constantly go out with me. We'll try new techniques. But some of us are not as lucky to have a friend or a partner that can keep going out with, and this is what this group really is about. We want to create like a support group where, let's say you want to try new techniques, or you want to try new macro techniques or nature techniques, and you need someone to be there with you. We hope that this group will be there for this very reason. So we have like focus group session, we can have like 1 hour, let's everybody sit down and curate our own photos together. It's really just to force us force us to like, progress in our photography. And it's free, yeah. Okay, so with that, we can go to the Q&A.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Charmaine and Rihan. While you're clapping, whoever has questions can clap. You can't raise hands, I'll come to you with the mic. Okay, any questions for Charmaine, Rihan, both of them, one of them? Okay, run over here.
Okay, I've got a few questions. Number one is the ND filter. Okay, if you use the ND filter, right, it will create a very nice water shot. Right? Okay, I realized something like the mountain will lose detail. Does it really matter? And secondly, what is the teleconverter? What does it do? Does it affect quality? Then also, right, when you use teleconverter, right, when you zoom to let's say 600, right, and then right, when you use the teleconverter, will it affect the shutter speed as well, because you need to maintain the camera stability, right?
Okay, good question.
She just hold the mic on me and then pass the mic. Okay, so your concern with ND filters is you tend to lose detail in the water when you use an ND filter.
No, the mountains.
Oh, mountain. Okay, it could
because,
be.
Got 2 pictures now.
2 pictures.
No, because the first picture is 1/3 of a second, then the other one is...
Right, I know what you mean. Okay, so when you are bracketing your exposures in a way, one for the mountain and then one for the water. Right, so mountain, you don't use the ND filter. Do you have the ND filter on when you use the mountain? When you shoot the mountain?
No.
No. Okay, so, I get your scene. So there's water in the foreground and then there's a mountain in the background.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, right, what I will do is, I will do the non-filtered image first. I'll shoot the mountain sharp first. Focus on the mountain. Okay, don't focus on blurred water because it's blurred already. So don't waste your focus. Focus on the mountain, right? And let the water be out of focus. Whether it's close to your camera, it's still blurred out by the motion blur. Right? Usually, actually, I would say 1 shot is enough. Yeah. Just focus on the mountain, get your exposure, and that's it. If you need to bracket your dynamic range, set it to bracketing, 2 stops difference, and then you're set. Okay, so, and the other question is teleconverters. Okay, teleconverters are basically little lenses that you mount between the camera and long lenses. Not all lenses can use teleconverters. Okay, so your 24-70, 16-35 cannot use a teleconverter. Okay, 70-200 GM2 can, 70-200 G2, yes, 100-400, 400, 600, 300. Alright, and 1.4 times multiply your focal length by 1.4, but you lose 1 stop of light. 2 times times 2 of focal length, but you lose 2 stops of light. Okay, and the 2 times actually you need to have a very optically strong lens. Okay, so like the 300, 400, 600 perform very well the 2 times. The GM2 performs very well the 2 times as well. Okay, if you're not sure, the 1.4 times is a very safe bet. Okay, because you're shooting with a shorter focal length, you're losing 1 spot of light. So your shutter speed, yes, you do have to slow down again. Bring on the ISO 1 stop. That's what I'll do, I'll bring on the ISO 1 stop. Right? So I don't actually sacrifice my shutter speed for anything. Okay, if I need a fast shutter, I need a fast shutter. That's it. Okay, the moment you set the slow shutter, if your subject is blurred, that's it. Okay, right?
And regarding your question about whether you need to increase your shutter speed because now your focal length is longer, okay, so what happens is that when you have a longer focal length, every minimal movement do get more emphasized. So yes, if you feel like there are a bit of wind disruption or your hand holding is not as stable, you do need to increase your shutter speed to ensure that you get a sharper image, to freeze the motion. That's basically the idea. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, thank you so much. Any more questions? Even if at the back? Okay, one over here.
Somehow related. The NV filter. In the market, there are so many types, and as hobbies, right? You just shoot for fun and shoot for holidays. And which one do you recommend? What types do you recommend?
Most cost effective lah, but then good quality. That's your question, right?
Yes.
So most cost effective and good quality self-ND filters.
Which type?
Maybe got some manufacturers hiding here in the crowd testing me. Okay, no. Okay, there are only a couple of brands I would say are reputable. Alright, so in Singapore, I think there's Lee filters, there's Nisi, there's H&Y. Alright, these three filters are very reputable. If you don't break them right, they will last forever. To be honest. So to me, it's very important that you buy and invest in good quality ones because they're in front of a lens. So you have 2470 GM2, which is very good, perfect. But then you put a cheap piece of glass in front, wow, the quality will be crap. Alright, so to me, buy expensive one. Just like, you know, usually the retailers will tell you, buy expensive UV filters to put in front of a lens. Okay, you buy a cheap brand, off-brand, don't know what brand kind of UV filter, trust me, I've done that also. And there was one point where I was doing videos starting out, I was like, wow, this variable ND filter so cheap, $35 for one. Well, I bought all kinds of sizes. When I put it on, right, wow, my footage was always soft. Nowadays, I think soft is very nice, you know, very in the trend right now. But then back then, it was like, wow, how come so soft? I can't focus like that. Alright, so to me, invest in good glass. Just take it that it's like part of your lens. Alright, so these three brands I think are good: Lee, Nisi, and H&Y. Okay. Variable NDs may be a good consideration because they're easy to mount the lens, and then you can, you know, alter the density accordingly. Right? The square filters that we use, right, they are individual pieces of glass. Okay? So there was once when I dropped one piece on the floor, actually a few times already. Sorry. I have to apologize to her because she's my finance minister. So it's $180 every time I draw one piece and it cracks. Gone already. Alright? So variable NDs probably in the good ones are probably like $200. Right? But they can serve you, you know, from one stock to 8 stocks, for example. It's all in one, I would say. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much. I think we got time for maybe one or at most two more questions. So, any questions? Raise your hands. I'll come to you with the mic. Okay, one right in front. Give me a moment.
Hello, hi. So the places you went, they are like harsh conditions. So especially for like I'm a beginner or probably a hobbyist, we tend to react to getting some better protection for the gears, right? Like if I'm doing some water activities, oh, I need some waterproof bag or dry bag sort of thing. Then it tends to get very expensive over time. So how do you, like when you plan for your trip, what sort of the thinking process that goes in your mind when it comes to protecting your gear? Or do you really need to take a very good care of the gear, or is it like, you know, like stress test for the gear? Something. Thank you.
I'm laughing because we are known to be very brutal with our gear and it survived. Let me think. I think we do take like basic precautions. Like let's say if we go to, I mean the way we change our lens out, we make sure not to point against the snow or against the sand or the wind blowing in. What else do we do? We're quite rough with our gear though.
Yeah. Wow, this is a very tough question to answer. Okay, no, I mean basic, there has to be common sense now. Okay, so let's say you're shooting near the seaside or there's a lot of spray, right? We tend to bring a lot of lens cloths with us, okay, to dry, right? Yes, there are little bags that can put your camera inside and then you put your two hands inside and then try to operate the camera. To me, that's very cumbersome. I have those and I never got to using them now. Okay, and those are lens specific also. I think Think Tank makes some of them.
The thing is that even in snow, right, I would say I've never had problems with our cameras failing. Right? Since the A7R2. Right? So heavy snow, whatever, as long as it's, I just wipe them off in my jacket and it's okay. Okay. And then lenses, we tend to keep our UV filters on also, as much as possible. Other than that, to me, batteries have never been an issue. So at -50, LCDs, whatever LCD, regardless of camera brand, tend to smear. Okay, so it's very weird to look at. Okay, but the shutters are still working. Right. So to me, even in the temperatures, we don't pamper the cameras at all. Right. We just make sure that when we go indoors, we put them inside a Ziploc bag so that they don't condense. When we go into a hotel room which is very warm. Right. So there was once in China when we were shooting in the mountains. It was very cold, about I think -5. Casual, just shoot. And then I went into the hotel without putting in a Ziploc bag. The lens condensed for 4 days. I couldn't use the lens for 4 days. Right. Yeah. Right. So to me, Ziploc bags are very important. Okay, as well as lens cloths. That's the first protection you should have.
Actually, at the end of the day, the shooting, usually I'll go back to the hotel and I'll clean the lens, blow, and he don't know because he don't do that lah. When bathing, I'll secretly do it, clean out the lens, so they can see. Yeah, I usually do that to make sure it's. Other than that, it's just basic precaution. Don't let it get wet by seawater. You know, if you're gonna shoot in the middle of the wave, when the waves comes, get ready to. Don't let it flip away and just basic precaution. We don't have special tools. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. One final chance for one final question today, right now, off stage. Anybody? If not, we'll wrap this session. One last call, one last question. Auction time, one last question. Calling once, twice, thrice.
Charging already.
Okay, yeah, done already. Okay.
So, if they're very shy to ask questions, you can always just drop us a DM on Instagram. Usually we'll try to reply as soon as possible, or you can hang out after that to ask some questions.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Charmaine and Rehan, please.